Welcome back. You just watched a video on effective questioning. Now let's explore how we can apply these same questioning strategies in classrooms that include emerging bilingual students. A key takeaway for this week is that many teachers consciously or unconsciously shy away from rigorous questioning of bilingual learners out of a desire not to embarrass any learner or raise the anxiety level in the room. Concerns about anxiety of speaking in front of the class are not unfounded, but if anything, the questioning practices advocated by Black and Harrison are more important for bilingual students. Let's take a look at the strategies we saw, paying particular attention to how they might affect our bilingual learners. When thinking about equity in a science classroom where emerging bilingual students are mixed with fluent English speakers, we have to ask, are questions comprehensible for all students? And are all students challenged to communicate? Fortunately for us as science teachers, science learning naturally lends itself to added comprehension because we use realia, non-linguistic representations, and experiences to ground questions and discussion. Realia are real objects or processes that we can use to support meaning. When we're talking about heat transfer, we have a hot plate and a beaker in front of us. When talking about electricity generation, we have a simple hand crank connected to a light bulb. This kind of scaffold is critically important for comprehension, and we should remember to keep realia handy throughout all lectures and discussions, pointing to it where possible when asking a question. Non-linguistic representations are also commonly used in science classrooms. They include charts, video, pictures, diagrams, data, or pictorial computer or 3D models. Just like realia, these non-linguistic representations do not rely on English proficiency for comprehension. You can use charts and data whenever possible to engage students in questioning. Finally, we leverage highly engaging hands-on learning to create highly relevant contextualized discussion. Start your unit or class with an anchor event, snap a few pictures, and refer to this event often throughout the learning. These three natural elements of science teaching help ensure that questions are comprehensible. But we can take it further with the first big takeaway from the effective questioning video. Good planning means scripting the key questions that you will ask in class. When we don't script our questions, our classroom time is filled with many rambling questions, such as, so looking at this formula here, what might be involved in making something more or less dense? This example is a good question in terms of the science, but it's hard to comprehend. When we take the time to script our questions, we can replace the many rapid-fire, closed-ended questions with fewer, bigger questions, such as, what makes something dense? The simplified question is just as challenging and can lead students into a deeper discussion when we support student discourse. Finally, when we script our questions, we can have them ready to read on posters, on PowerPoint slides on the board. Bilingual students can read and reread the questions as needed, a powerful aid in comprehension. So now that we've improved comprehension, let's consider the second part of this equity problem, challenging all students to communicate. The remaining takeaways from our video really help. We give adequate wait time to process the language and the content. This is especially important for emerging bilingual students who have to think about the questions, but also have to think about the language. Depending on the student, some must first translate the question in their minds, grapple with the content, and then take their answer from their first language back to English. This obviously takes time. When we follow up our wait time with partner talk or group talk, we provide additional speaking and listening opportunities for our emerging bilinguals. In addition, we add a factor of decreased anxiety for the whole class participation that can follow the partner talk or group talk. Though it might seem radical, the proposal by Paul Black and Chris Harrison that you have a no-hands classroom is an important step in creating an equity environment for bilingual and multilingual students. Calling on their students with their hands in the air time and time again preferences are English proficient or monolingual English students. Instead, we have to make our classrooms a place in which everyone has to think. In the same vein, pushing all students to elaborate on seemingly wrong answers is an important equity step. Deep questions place heavy demands on the subject knowledge of your students, and even greater demands on the linguistic knowledge of emerging bilinguals. It takes more questioning, more pressing, and more drawing and dialogue to really uncover the thinking of emerging bilinguals, because they're still acquiring the language needed to express their understanding. Let's look again at these strategies in place of traditional practices. In many classrooms, the teacher asks the class a question. Can we convert 2 moles of nitrogen gas to a mass in grams? The teacher calls on the first student to raise their hand and then moves on. Now, revise that scenario by applying these last 3 strategies for effective questioning: wait time, group talk, and no hands. The teacher can ask the same question, but with different expectations. Can we convert 2 moles of nitrogen gas to a mass in grams? Wait. Think about it. Don't raise your hands. Now, turn to your table partner and discuss. With these questioning strategies, we give bilingual students greater access to the content learning. When implementing the strategies, it's important that we reflect on our teaching with an equity lens. In the final Explore activity, we'll look at an article detailing how we, as well-meaning educators with positive intentions, unintentionally fall into practices that fail our bilingual students. By restricting opportunities to practice extended academic talk, or by limiting opportunities to co-construct ongoing classroom knowledge, or by giving bilinguals marginalized social roles within the classroom. This is a tough article because it hits home. As the author indicates, the teachers observed in this study were good teachers trying to do right by their students. None of us is immune to the subtle lowering of expectations, the unconscious reduction in classroom rigor when faced with what we perceive to be students' struggle with the language. If we're going to address this problem, it's going to take commitment and reflection. We hope you'll take this on with intentional, planned questioning strategies followed by reflection on your teaching. We encourage you to use this week's Make It Work to practice this reflective stance, video recording your teaching and reflecting on it alone or with a coach or peer. Regardless of which Make It Work strategy you choose, I want to thank you for all you do to transform your classroom time and space to achieve bilingual excellence.